everybody, welcome to Ask Ron number 15. These are very easy for me to do, so I'm just going to keep knocking them out. Today's mainly nutrition questions. Now, I'm not a nutritionist. I do coach some athletes. I've prepped a few athletes for shows. I've been getting nutrition questions for many years. I'm not as qualified as someone like a Chris Tuttle to handle these questions, but I can give you some good basic info. So this came from, I don't know who, somebody on one of the forums here said, I've read both schools of thought on this one. You get to cast the deciding vote. Is it advised to wait an hour, 2, or more after eating before starting iron training? Or does it matter? It really depends. It really depends. So I've discussed in the past that I am very, very much against training with weights on an empty stomach. I don't think you should ever do that. There is no point. The main reason people were doing that, and some continue to do that, is because it's been shown that there is a spike in growth hormone release from the body when you do that, which is a good thing, right? But there are so many bad things that result from training on an empty stomach. You're in such a catabolic state. You're going to eat up muscle tissue. So any possible benefits that you would get from that little GH spike are heavily, heavily outweighed by many, many negatives. So don't do it. So how long should you wait? Okay, it kind of depends on a couple things. How heavy is the meal? Is it a little meal? Is it a little bit of chicken, a little tiny bit of rice, or is it a really big meal, a big steak and, giant potato, butter, something that's going to be heavy and sit in your stomach for a while? Lighter meals with leaner, faster digesting protein sources like white fish, chicken breast, egg whites, those are going to go through you a lot quicker than something like whole eggs, red meat, fattier ground turkey, chicken thighs, and definitely things like pizza, lasagna. Those things are real heavy. Those are going to sit in your stomach and take longer to digest. And it also depends on what you're training. If you're training something like shoulders or arms, you could probably get away with eating within an hour, no problem. No matter what, unless you had some monstrous, went to an all-you-can-eat buffet or something ridiculous like that. However, if you're going to be doing legs, especially, or back, those are two enormous body parts. A lot of volume, a lot of heavy weights. You're doing things like squats, deadlifts, barbell rows, T-bar rows, heavy dumbbell rows, where you're bent over. Those you definitely would not want to eat too soon. Those are the ones that you want to go 90 minutes, maybe even 2 hours, depending on the individual, from the time you finish that pre-training meal to the time you start your workout. Personally, I like to be about 90 minutes post-meal, meaning I finished eating my meal 90 minutes right before I start my weight training. That seems pretty ideal for me. If I eat if I let more time than that go by, even if it's something for me like legs or back, I start getting really hungry in the middle of the workout, and that's not a good thing either, because then your stomach's growling. It's hard to focus on the workout, and it also shows that your body needs nutrients. You could do like an intra-workout shake, some branched chain aminos, essential aminos, something like that too, but I would prefer not to wait too long. Now, like I said, it's an individual thing. Some people can eat and train pretty quickly. The guy who is the most extreme example of this that I can think of was Evan Centopani. I used to go down to the Powerhouse Gym in New Haven, Connecticut, the Montanari Brothers Powerhouse Gym. Awesome gym if you ever get the chance to train there and you're in the area or anywhere near driving distance. So I used to go down there to, when Evan was with MD, every now and then I go down to shoot training videos of him. And it always freaked me out that he could be sitting there at the front desk when I walked in with big piece of fish, rice. He's eating all this, and I'd say, geez, we're supposed to start shooting soon. He's like, oh, don't worry about it. I'm going to train pretty soon. And literally, it would be 20 minutes later, not even 30. I really think it was usually around 20, maybe 30 minutes later. He'd be on the workout floor starting his workout, even something like legs. Most people, if they tried that, they would be heaving up their guts. They'd be puking that fish all over the gym floor. A few sets of squats in, or if it was back day, a few sets of deadlifts or barbell rows. Because you have, you know, you have only a limited amount of blood supply in your body, right? So if you're digesting a big meal, that blood's down around all around your stomach, your colon, all that good stuff. And then you're trying to shuttle that blood into the working muscles too at the same time. Sometimes it can be an overload, and your nervous system gets overloaded, and you just get nauseated. If it's like when we were kids, probably the younger guys may not hear that as much as we did when we were kids, but if we were at the beach, we ate something, our moms would scream at us if we even dreamed of going into the water within like an hour. They'd be saying, it was this bad thing, you're going to drown. And, as silly as that sounds, there was actually something to it, is that it's very hard to put out a maximum physical effort on a full stomach. So if you're a kid and you're caught in an undertow or riptide or something like that, and you're not the greatest swimmer in the first place, yeah, I could see that would be a bad scene, bad scenario. So for me, I like to, my breakfast is the same every day. Every day I have 4 whole eggs. I have a bowl of oats. It's a half to 2/3 cup dry oats. Put it in there, put the water in, I microwave it for 3 minutes. Different intervals so it doesn't explode, like 1 minute, 1 minute, 1 minute. I throw some berries in there, maybe some raisins in there, mix it all up. If I'm feeling really crazy, I'll throw in some natural honey. That's my breakfast. So I'll finish that at 7:30, 7:45. Let's say 7. Let's say it's closer to 8, because I typically start training at 9:30. So for me, 90 minutes, give or take, is right around where I like to be, and I can do any body part like that, no problem, where I'm not getting too hungry and I'm not nauseated on a full stomach either. But you need to play around with it. You need to find what's best for you, like we say all the time. You need to decide, figure out an hour if I eat, I find that's too soon and I'm nauseated and not having the best workout, or maybe you're one of those crazy people like Evan who you can digest food really fast and efficiently. And if you wait much more than an hour, you're going to be starving in the middle of the workout, which obviously isn't good either. So I hope I answered that question. Next one comes to me from a guy that I've been in touch with via email for many years, Gary Ying Chan. It's a long question. It is accepted that it's hard to put on muscle and lose fat at the same time. And it is accepted that to put on muscle in the off-season, you have a bit more body fat. I don't think it's necessary to get to 20% body fat in the off-season to maximize muscle gain. In your opinion, for a natural bodybuilder eating 8 times a day, good Lord, if that's every 2 hours, I guess that would be 16 hours. If it takes you 0 amount of time to eat, that'd be 16 hours. Anyway, back to the question. Eating 8 times a day, what is the lowest body fat percentage a man could be in the off-season, still put on muscle? In other words, could someone at 9% body fat put on as much muscle as someone who is 13% body fat? Yes, of course. I and many other people, I'm not judging anybody because this was me for many, many years. Off-season for me was, I would eat as much as possible. And a lot of good food. And, at certain body off-seasons I've had a lot of bad food too. But I would have the good food and then I would have the dessert on top of that. And I would justify everything. I was saying it's off-season, it's all contributing toward gains, recovery, muscle repair and recovery, and gains. So I had it in my head that every ounce of weight I'm putting on right now is going to be muscle mass, which was completely wrong. Obviously, I look back at pictures from many off seasons where my face was perfectly round, and you can see even now I'm fairly lean, believe it or not. But my face is one of the first things to get fat on me, and people talk shit and say I have D-ball, bloat, anadrol. No, believe me, I had a off season big fat pumpkin face long before I ever saw an actual D-ball or anadrol pill. Long before I ever touched a steroid, I was a fat bastard in the off season with a big chubby cheeks. Everyone in my family has chubby cheeks. It's we don't have cheekbones. I don't know. What are you going to do? Put some fillers in, I guess. I had this idea that not only was it necessary to put on a lot of fat, but it was a good thing. And I was delusional. I didn't think it was fat. I assumed it was all muscle. But, a few times in a row, this is when I was still drug-free for life, I would diet down from 230, and I was a butterball at 230. I'm not saying this was a solid 230 like I would carry today. I'm much more solid. I have more muscle mass. I would diet down in about 12 weeks from 230 down to, it would be like around 180 usually. And I always looked the same every time I dieted down. I was like bumming. I was like, well, where's all that muscle? I just lost 50 pounds, which I thought was all, I thought I'd be like 200 pounds ripped. So it took me many years, and it really was just getting disgusted with the way I looked in the off season. And looking in the mirror, you can sort of justify it and not really see how fat you are, but in pictures, you really can't avoid the issue. So many times I'd see pictures from Christmas Eve or New Year's Eve, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm fucking fat. Jesus, look at me. Disgusting. And, I didn't feel good either. My belly, my gut would be so big. I'd be having trouble tying my shoes. I'd be out of breath tying my shoes. My head would feel like it's going to explode. Just going up some stairs, I'd start breathing heavy. It just wasn't. I didn't look good and I didn't feel good. So I decided a few years ago, not that long ago, unfortunately, that I would stay leaner all the time. And it's also for anybody that's going to compete, aspires to compete, or that you do compete, the absolute best piece of contest prep advice I can give anybody is don't get fat in the first place. If you never get fat, you're never going to have a lot of fat to take off, and you're never going to have to do these preps where you suffer with an hour, 2 hours of cardio every day and going on zero carbs for 12 or 16 weeks. You won't have to do that because you won't have that much fat to lose. So how much fat do you need to gain to build muscle? I do believe that if you stay very, very lean, close to contest condition, unless you're one of those people that's naturally very lean anyway, I don't think you can put muscle on while staying that lean, because you need a surplus of calories to gain muscle mass, just like you need a deficit of calorie to lose body fat. It's a scale thing. You need to be taking in more calories than your body needs at rest to be able to recover and gain new muscle tissue, just like you need to be taking in less calories than you're burning up every day if you want to lose body fat. So you need to find a balance where you're eating just enough so that you're maintaining pretty decent condition. You should always be able to see your abs, whatever that body fat translates to on you, because it's not the same. 10% body fat does not look the same on every single person. 8% doesn't, 12% doesn't, 20% doesn't. We all carry fat in different ways, different parts of the body. So it's really kind of ridiculous to say everybody should stay at exactly 10% body fat. You need to find a point where you still look pretty good and feel pretty good, yet you're taking enough calories to grow. The only way to really determine that is to keep a food diary for a little while, a couple months really. It's going to take you to really nail it down. And you do body fat measurements every week, and you weigh yourself, and you're writing down everything that you're eating and saying this many grams of protein, this many grams of carbs, fat. And eventually you're going to figure out this much food, this much carbs and fat makes me get fatter. This much allows me to keep gaining while staying pretty good. This much I'm actually losing. We're all different. You can't say that one certain diet and certain amount of calories and macro percentages is going to work for everybody. It doesn't. We all respond a little bit differently to different things. We have different metabolisms. We respond to carbs differently, fats differently. Some people do very well on very low carbs and higher fats. And the protein should always be fairly consistent. Other people do much better on higher carbs and lower fat. A lot of people in both camps. That doesn't mean one of them's right and one of them's wrong. It's just they found what works for them, and that's what we all need to do. A little quick thing, I've said this many times before, but as far as carrying a lot of body fat being necessary to gain muscle, absolutely not. And I go to a quote from the late Arthur Jones, who was the inventor of all those awesome Nautilus machines I used to be so enamored with when I was 18, 19 years old. And he said, this was in reference to that, he said, a car will still run with a trunk full of sand or concrete, but it's not going to run better. It'll probably run better without all that damn sand. So having all that extra body fat definitely will hamper your training. You'll especially have trouble with things like higher rep squats, deadlifts, and by higher rep I mean the bodybuilding range, 8, 10, 12 reps. You can be a big fat bastard and do your 1 or 2 reps on squats, rest for 10 minutes, come back and do another 1, 2, but that's not bodybuilding, that's powerlifting. It's a totally different pursuit. Bodybuilders should be doing 8 to 12 reps for the most part. You can go a little lower sometimes, you go higher sometimes, especially on legs. Legs, you definitely want to push it higher much of the time. It's, 15, 20 reps on a lot of things you can do. And you'll find that your wind you get out of breath. You'll have a hard time. You're going to not be able to finish the set, not because your muscles gave out or because the pain was too great. It's because you can't breathe anymore because you're fat. Your cardiovascular fitness is in the gutter. So any of you who have gotten really heavy, I'm sure you've noticed this. Leg workouts, back workouts, they're a struggle. You know, you're having a lot of trouble because you're carrying too much body fat. So I don't believe anybody should get that fat, especially if you consider yourself a bodybuilder. You know, Arnold said if you can't see your intercostals anymore, you're not a bodybuilder. I kind of agree with that. I don't think if you've lost sight of your abs and your intercostals, it's just a big, buttery, smooth mass of fat, you're not a bodybuilder anymore. You're just a fat guy who likes to work out. And there's nothing wrong with that. If that's what you want to be, God love you, go for it. But you're not a bodybuilder. A bodybuilder should always be able to see the physique. You need to see what you're working on because we're all a work in progress and we're all trying to improve. So, you know, many years ago I would get so fat, I got to, you know, many times I would get to like 240, 245, and arms have always been my thing, my challenge. So I'd measure them to be 19 inches, right, all pumped. But it wasn't a 19-inch arm. It was a bunch of fat and water on top of my normal arms. And I didn't know that. I was deluding myself into thinking, yeah, I got 19-inch arms now in the off-season. I didn't. I still had 17.5, maybe 18-inch arms with an inch of fat and water, bloating them up and making them look a little bigger in a tight T-shirt. But the main point I'm trying to get here is off-season should not be an excuse to get fat. You should not be eating a ton of junk. It's not helping you. You know, quality food for quality gains. You can have a little bit of junk. You can treat yourself once or twice a week. You don't need to be doing that every day. If you're one of those crazy high metabolism guys, you're always ripped, yeah, you can get away with it. Everybody else listening, no, you can't get away with it. You're going to get fat. And you won't even know you're fat, you know, until maybe you see a picture and realize it. Because you look in the mirror, and you can look in the mirror all day and see things that aren't there. I've done it. You've all done it. That's just human nature. Pictures don't lie. You see what you really look like, and it's a bummer sometimes. But that's what it takes for a lot of people to realize they've gone too far with their bulking. So there isn't a percentage of body fat that I'm going to say that you should stay at, because it's different for everybody, like I said. But you should always have some abs you can see. They don't have to be crystal clear, deep abs, but you should be able to see the outlines of your abs. Your intercostals in here. You should see some kind of quad separation. You should see a little bit of muscle separation everywhere. If you don't see anything, you're a big blob, okay? You need to chill out. You need to start doing a little more cardio. You need to cut back on the junk food. You're probably eating too many carbs. You know, you need to figure it out because it's not helping you. So that's been a special nutritional version of Ask Ron. I will talk to you guys next time.